Hey guys, Aaron here with another fountain pen review today. And as you can tell, I'm reviewing a Pilot fountain pen. And I'm trying to work through all my pens that I currently have inked. And the reason why is I have quite a few that are inked, and I have quite a few that are in need of cleaning. And this is actually a pen that I have been, I, I've been it's been part of my slot to review, and for whatever reason, I've held off on it. And it's a pen that I really enjoy using quite a bit. And I know for several people, it is their Grail pen. For me, I wouldn't necessarily say it's my Grail pen. However, I would say that it is definitely one of my favorites, for sure, top five and probably top three. And I would say, I don't know if I would say it's necessarily my favorite pen. It's hard for me to pick just one, but it's definitely up there. And it's a pen that I enjoy using quite considerably. Um, it comes in this display box you see here. Now, this pen is a pen that you can get in America. And you can actually get it in two different types of displays. You can get it in this one, or you can get it in their kind of regular pen coffin where it just comes with the pen itself. Now, this one to me is kind of almost like a gift display box. It's kind of got this, it's cardboard type box. It's definitely a box that you could reuse and use for something. This box has just been sitting inside of a case for quite a while. You'll see, obviously, you've got your use and care guide here for Pilot Namiki. And then we'll take this foam package off, and there you see the pen. And the pen that I am reviewing is the Pilot Custom 823. And I really like this display. This is a pen that I did purchase from jetpens.com, and I paid $288 for the pen. Now you can get it again without the ink bottle and everything else. I think the price for that is $269. I could be off on that a little bit. Now, again, this is a pen like most Pilot pens, like most pens in general, but especially pens that are made overseas, that you can get at a more economical price if you're willing, obviously, number one, to wait. But you can purchase them through eBay, and Geico.com is another really popular website that a lot of people will go to purchase these pens. And you can get them at a much more reasonable price. So you've got some more, again, some more information here. This one is obviously talking about if you remove the nib/neck assembly, that you will void the warranty. And I wanted to show that for a couple of reasons, because I'll get to that later on in the review. And then this is talking about, again, just some information on how to fill and everything else. And this is a really unique filling system. The ink bottle that comes in, I do use this ink every now and then, and I really kind of like this ink bottle. It's an interesting shape and design. I don't find myself using this ink as much because I'm a big fan of Konpeki, but I do use this ink at times. I have found that to me, it's a little bit drier and a little bit fussier than the Konpeki ink that I use. And that's actually what this is inked up with right now. Now, as for the pen itself, put all this back. I'm actually going to pause for a moment, and I'm going to zoom in so we can get a better look at this pen. All right, so the pen that you see in front of you is the amber color. You'll notice that the pen obviously has some translucency to it, and it's something that really kind of drew me to the pen. This is a pen that's been on the market since the year 2000, so about 18 years now. When it was first offered, it was actually offered in mainly just the full transparent version, so a completely clear version. And then now it is offered in three different versions: the clear, the amber that you see in front of you, and then the smoke version, which is kind of a grayish or black type pen. All three are transparent materials. All of them have the same filling systems. Any of you that have obviously used or purchased the TWSBI VAC, this has the same filling system. It is a vacuum filler. And I really like this filling system. I know some people are not super crazy about it. I know some people don't like the fact that it is a little bit difficult to clean out, but you definitely get a really large ink capacity, which I really like. If you happen to want to purchase this through an American retailer, the only color, at least as I'm reviewing this video, that you will be able to get is the amber color. For me, it is my favorite color anyways, so I had no problem purchasing it through an American retailer. So talking a little bit more about the pen before I kind of show it off. Some reasons why I wanted to get it. This is a pen that had been on my list for quite a while, really since I started collecting fountain pens. I heard a lot of great things about the pen. A lot of people really enjoy it. Like I said, for a lot of people, it is is their grail pen. And part of the other reason is the price for the pen. While you are paying $280 for the pen, when you compare it to some other really well-known pens, for instance, we'll talk about Pilot pens. You have your Pilot Custom 845 that, while it is an attractive pen, it has Urushi lacquer on it. It's a pen that someday I would love to own. There are downsides to that pen. To me, again, it's just a black pen with some gold trim. This one, to me, I like the fact that it is transparent. You're getting Pilot's number 15 size nib, so a really nice size nib. And while, yes, you're getting an Urushi body with the other pen, again, it's not a piston filler. You're still going to be just using a converter with that pen. And you're going to be paying in a price range of around $500 for that pen. Again, you've got your Pilot Custom Urushi. While it's another beautiful pen, this is a pen that if I had to choose between the three, I would go with this one first. And you can also compare the pen to, say, a Pelikan M800. While I don't own one, I know a lot of people have compared this pen to that. There's obviously people are going to have their opinions both ways. But when we're just talking strictly pricing for what you get out of a pen, this is a good price point if you're really trying to jump into kind of that next level of pens and really getting a really good quality pen and just a different writing experience altogether. This is kind of a good pen to me that is sometimes a little bit neglected from that perspective. It just doesn't get, maybe because it's just the way it looks. I don't know. Now looking at the pen itself, again, this is the amber color. It is primarily a translucent pen. We'll start at the top of the pen. You'll notice you've got your amber or brown finial up top. You got a nice fat cap band right there. And then again, you've got your standard Pilot ball clip. Some people love this clip, some people don't. One thing I will say about the clip, it is very functional. It goes in and out of a shirt pocket very well. While it is stiff, that ball works very well to go in just about any type of material. And then moving down to the bottom cap band, you've got a thin one here and then a fatter cap band here. You got 3 stars on either side, and then in the middle of that, it says Custom 823. And then on the back, Pilot, made in Japan. Get a little bit more of a close-up for you to see. And then working down the barrel, again, you can kind of see inside of that barrel. This pen I do use quite excessively, and you can tell there's not much ink left in there, but you can see a little bit of it sloshing around. And then, of course, you see that rod right there. And then moving up to the back of the pen, again, you've got another metal band here, and then you've got your blind cap in the back. Taking off the cap itself requires about 1.5 turns, and that reveals that section. Again, one thing I like about this pen, the section matches up with the finial back here, and again matches up with the cat finial. So I like the fact that it kind of does that. And this section, well, yeah, it does concave a little bit. It's not the biggest section in the world, but I find it very comfortable to hold. This pen is very well balanced. Even when the ink is full, or the barrel is full of ink, it's still a comfortable pen to hold. This is not a pen, for me at least, that I need to post, although obviously you can post it, and it posts securely. For me, it does feel a little bit back heavy when I post it. When it's not posted, it is a very well balanced pen and makes for a very nice writing experience. The barrel threads are shallow. While I know they're there, they do not bother me at all, and are not discomforting. And then we'll show off the nib real quick. It's a very, very attractive nib. This is, again, Pilot's number 15 size nib. You can see that scroll work on the nib. You've got Pilot 14K 585. You see the number 15, and this is a medium nib. And then we'll show that Pilot feed on the back that many of you have seen many, many times. It's just to me, a very attractive pen. I know some people don't love this material. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy it a lot more in person. So some things that do drive people crazy, some people don't mind, is, and I think it's actually a cool thing. So anybody that obviously owns or has used a TWSBI vac or any type of vacuum filler like this, you have got your plunger down here at the base. Now, what happens is when this blind cap is screwed all the way down, that actually shuts off the ink supply from your barrel to your nib and feed. Now, you're still going to have your ink that is through here and through your feed. So as long as this part is saturated, you're going to have plenty of ink for a decently long writing session. Now, what will happen is that this is eventually going to run dry, obviously, and sometimes that frustrates people because then you've got to open the blind cap and wait for that to resaturate the nib and feed. Now, for me, Brian Goulet actually has a video of him writing with this pen where the blind cap is completely closed, and he wrote several pages before he ran out. So there were no issues. I think he even had hand fatigue. He was able to write so many pages. I know I've been able to write easily 5 or 6 pages before I've had any issues. So for me, it doesn't really cause me any issues. The other nice thing, or for me, the nice thing about it is if you are planning on traveling and you're going to fly, you can still have this pen inked up, whereas you may have this completely empty, meaning your nib and feed are not saturated, but you have ink in your barrel. You're not going to have leakage because that plunger is going to cut that ink supply off to your nib and feed. So this is a pen that you could definitely fly with, that you can have inked already and ready to go. So when you land and get to wherever you're going, it's a pen that technically would be predominantly readily available. You would not have to ink up once you get there. So that's definitely a nice thing about this pen. Now, I do know that there are some people that have taken this plunger piece down at the bottom, have opened this up and taken that plunger piece off. I know a lot of people, there's videos out there of people modifying their TWSBI vacs, as well as videos out there of them modifying the 823. Now, when you do that, you have to be careful because, again, depending upon what you're taking off of the pen, you may potentially void your warranty. So with the card that I had here, again, if you read it, any attempt to remove the nib/neck assembly from the barrel of the pen may result in damage and will void the warranty. Now, you can obviously remove from back here, pull your rod out, remove that piece, reinstall it, and you'll be good with the pen. Now, I've never done that. I don't really have a need or want to do so. So it's not something that I'm worried about doing. Now, when I typically write with this pen, I'm going to uncap it, and then I'm just going to give about one, little turn of the blind cap from back here. What that will do is it moves that plunger piece up and allows now ink flow to flow down to the nib and feed. So as I'm writing, I'm not going to have to worry about it running out of ink. And I typically do that almost every time I write, unless I'm doing some quick notes, and then I don't worry about it. And it really, I know some people, it drives them crazy. For me, it does not bother me at all, and I have no issues doing it. So it's not something that is an annoyance for me per se. I could see, though, however, that it could be annoying for other people. Um, Real quick, talking about the sizing of the pen. So with the pen capped, it's 5 3/4 inches. With it uncapped, it's 5 1/4, and with it posted, it gets up to about 6 1/3 inches. So it is definitely a larger pen. And when we talk about sizing comparisons, I'll do my usual sizing comparisons for you, and we'll do them on either side. So we've got our Pilot Metropolitan, and then we've got our Lamy Safari. And the Lamy Safari is definitely not a super small pen, so you can tell it's definitely longer. And there you see all three pens unposted. And now we see all three pens posted. So definitely not a very small pen. It's one thing I like about it. To me, it's not a oversized pen, I would say, but it's definitely not a small pen. And I think it is a pen that, for me anyways, for my size hands, I enjoy using quite a bit. Now, one thing I wanted to do was kind of compare my Pilot Custom 74 nib that I've to the 823 nib to kind of show you kind of the differences in size. While the nibs, the scroll work and a lot of things about them are very similar, you can tell there's a big difference in the size of nib. So on the left, you have your Custom 74 nib, and that is their number 5 nib. And then on the right, you again see the Custom 823 and their number 15 size nib. So definitely some differences in size, which again, I think is, I love that number 15 nib. It's so beautiful, very large nib, and a very enjoyable nib when you write with it. So some things about the pen. So things that I like about it, things that I don't like about it. So there's a lot of things that I love about this pen. Again, this is one of my favorite pens, if not my favorite pen. And again, it's hard for me to choose. It is a very, very consistent writer. Now, when I did one caveat with that, when I did first get it, it did have a little bit of baby's bottom. I put it through a little bit of micro mesh for just a moment. Pen has wrote very well, almost flawlessly since then. So that was one issue with the pen. For me, not a huge issue. I was able to fix that very, very easily. But outside of that, I love the pen. I love the ink capacity. I love the way the nib performs. I actually enjoy the style of the pen. I know some people, they don't like this style as much. I enjoy it. It's a pen that fits very well in my hand, and is a very, very pleasurable writing experience. Now, some things that are a little bit of a downside. While I love the number 15 nib, one thing that is a little bit frustrating is it only comes in fine, medium, and broad. And that's even if you go to your Japanese retailers as well. Now, there is one thing with that. There are some Japanese retailers, if you look hard enough, that will sell this pen in some of the other size 15 nib variations, such as a Falcon nib, a Waverly nib, or a Music nib. Now, the reason why I mentioned that, and I was talking about this earlier, is you have to be careful with that because these are nibs that were not originally produced for this pen. So that would have mean that they've gone and they've done alterations to the pen outside of what the manufacturer would have done. So you may be getting a pen that is automatically void of warranty. So again, just something to understand. While you may find those pens, you may say, hey, there's a Falcon nib, but why? I would love to own that pen. Just be careful when you purchase that because you may get a pen that is void of warranty. Just something to bring up. I was actually reading a couple articles about Custom 823, and I guess that's something that's popular overseas. And that is some of the issues, though, when you're purchasing those pens, to be careful that you're not getting a pen that's already void of the warranty. And that way, if you have issues with it, you potentially may not be able to get those issues resolved, and you'll just be out whatever money you paid for the pen. So that is one thing. You know, that's for me. That's really the only downside to this pen. Everything else, I don't mind anything about it. I don't mind the fact of having to unscrew the blind cap to write with it necessarily. But again, if you're just doing a short writing session, it's not something you have to do. So up next, guys, I'm gonna do the writing session, and then we'll finish up from there. See you guys in a moment. All right, guys, we are back. Set the cap off to the side. I am going to open up the blind cap a little bit. So again, this is the Pilot Custom 823. And as you can already tell, this is a wet writer. And even when I don't have the blind cap open, it is still a wet writer. This again is the medium nib, and the ink that I'm using is Iroshizuku Konpeki, one of my favorite inks that I own. You know, one thing about this nib is, while it's not necessarily, you're not going to get really a lot of line variation with this nib, it is somewhat springy. All right, there you see it. And, you know, as far as wetness with this pen, I mean, it's a pretty wet pen. I mean, comparatively speaking to a lot of my other pens, and this ink dries pretty fast, but it is definitely a wet pen. It's just enjoyable. It just glides across the paper. As far as line variation, pushed it way too much, that first one. As you can tell, it's not a pen. I'm a little paranoid to push that nib too far. And I am almost, as you can tell, out of ink. I got a little bit left in there, but you know, you can get a little bit with this pen, but this is not a pen that I am expecting to get a ton of line variation. But the one nice thing about it, as I stated before, it's just kind of springy. You know, it gives you a little bit of springiness to it. And it glides across that paper. It's just a very pleasurable writing experience. And that's one of my favorite things about it, is just how it writes. As I stated before, I did have a little bit of baby's bottom with this pen. A couple minutes on the micro mesh, fixed the issue immediately. The pen has worked flawlessly since then. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a pen that I love very much. And you know, I think anybody that takes the chance on buying this pen definitely can't go wrong with it. For me, it was worth the full $288 that I spent on the pen, and I do not regret the purchase at all. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, again, definitely give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, especially if you own one of these pens. Tell us how you like it. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have more pen videos coming. I've got a pen on the way. And as soon as I get it, I'm going to show it to you guys, but it is a vintage pen that's going to need some restoration work. But as soon as I get it, I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm actually very excited about it. It's going to be my first pen to own of this brand. And once I get that, I'll show it off to you guys, and then I'll be working on it over the next probably few weeks. But in the meantime, I will have more pens to review. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, evening, or whatever time of day it is where you're at, and I shall see you guys later.